We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. If you need a roadmap in crypto, stay with this channel. Turn on alerts in Discord so you know when we're going live. And if the content works for you, definitely check out the feedback form in the description down below. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Is the crypto market going to survive another day where it doesn't fall apart? We certainly hope so. Let me welcome who's here. Okay, Zepeda's first on the stream. Corey, Horace, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Kane, Double Ace, Daniel plays paintball. Today's Tech Bites. Welcome. All right. Joshua Saint is in the house. A man from Canada. Welcome, sir. Mahet, Warmon, Huber's Ranch, Neff, Zach, Malik, Mr. Relentless, Arendam, Leo, the OG crew. Appreciate all of you tuning in. Okay. Now let's start by talking about this market. What is the biggest risk to crypto right now? Equities. Stocks have gone up and up and up after making this low early August. If something happens with stocks, if there is a geopolitical event, stocks are going to have serious problems. And stocks are so lofty that anything that makes stocks go down will also hurt crypto. Now, Bitcoin, Solana, and all that turned soft. The best I could tell is that the government is giving this, we're going to move Mt. Gox coins around again. To me, I look at that and I'm just like, whatever. To me, the biggest problem in crypto is that the euphoria wears off in equities. Part 2. Why would the euphoria wear off in equities? Well, geopolitical stuff. Do you know, I was working with a guy who follows Russian news last night, and we were combing CNN's website, and we could not find anything about the fact that the Ukrainians are inside Russian territory. Supposedly, they fought their way in. So, in other words, it's not like they just walked in unannounced. They actually achieved some measure of victory to get in. Russian troops are showing up, and his joke was they could be showing up on horseback. So no one is talking about this. Everyone talks about the Middle East. No one's talking about that. That and Putin's response to that, that if there's anything that comes out of left field, it's that. Now, if anything that's obvious, it's the fact that there was nothing in the inflation data that would basically give the Fed a free pass to cut rates, right? The Fed needs a bank failure, inflation down, or the stock market down to be able to cut rates, and they don't have any of those things right now. They don't. With 30 days away from a rate cut that's supposedly a 95% chance of happening, we don't have any reason for the rate cut to happen. So if you want to know why crypto probably doesn't trade that well, that's why. And I'm wondering if there's going to be a wake-up call in equities today off, say, Applied Material earnings. We'll go over the charts. Karmenko is here. Welcome. Okay, I'm going to go to news. Okay, so, this is the guy from Argentina on what's going on in Europe. And let's just say be careful what you post on social media, okay? I'm glad crypto is still in vogue. Richard Nixon suspended the gold standard 53 years ago today. That essentially means the dollar was no longer backed by anything physical, so they could just print it. And, everybody has these tweets about, oh, well, this is what something costs now versus, I don't know, 3 years from now, 50 years ago. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay. you know, inflation continues to work its way through the system. Inflation is old news, but the Fed needs something more. There just is no progress on it, despite it being old news. Okay, so inflation is first and foremost a monetary phenomenon. So if you want to stop inflation, you don't want to like print money and hand it out, which is exactly what these guys are trying to do. You know, I'm not opposed to the home buyer subsidy, and obviously a credit for a child makes sense. A tax credit makes massive sense, but price controls and handing out money, it's not going to help inflation. It's not, right? And, you know, helping people buy a home is a noble endeavor. If they did anything, the Kennedy proposal about using certain components of the bond market to try to issue to try to get people lower interest rates through market-based mechanisms is better, but you can't hand out money and have inflation go down. Okay. And, you know, Donald Trump asks what he would do. This is old, I think, and he would just say, drill for oil. Speaking of drilling, did you know that Nansen is reporting $5 million of accumulation in Aave? Some investment bank is coming in to the DeFi sector. You know, governance tokens to them. You know, we always used to say, well, you know, DeFi turned out to all BS because all it is governance tokens. Governance tokens is like stock. It's like voting rights to a legacy company. Someone is buying this coin. Phantom, we saw, was up 5% yesterday. They're coming into all these DeFi protocols, and Wall Street's like, hey, this could be really simple. Trading, investing, interest, deposits, a whole decentralized, profitable universe is waiting to be essentially taken over. Okay. Goldman Sachs jumps into the Bitcoin ETF. One hedge fund gets bullish on miners. Yeah, that's because Bitcoin miners are essentially giant Bitcoin farms, and that when Bitcoin becomes so scarce on exchanges, you're going to have to either buy it from miners directly, or you're going to have to buy the miners themselves. And if the companies are talking about, you know, if Goldman's buying a Bitcoin ETF and Morgan Stanley's buying a Bitcoin ETF, what's next? They can be like, okay, yeah, we're done with crypto. Okay, we got the ETF. Okay, guys going to lunch? That's not what's going to happen. It's not. Now, what kind of prices are they going to get involved? And that's what I keep asking myself. I'm like, oh man, you know, when these guys come, when these guys have, I mean, you're talking about dry powder. And these people all sat out the initial wave higher, right? They got more dry powder than you can imagine. Seriously. It's like, okay, well, gee, we missed crypto, and they're going to be like, wow, look at all these ninnies who are selling it, thinking it's going to 43K because of some BS and because of an overvalued stock market. Now, flipping that around, let's just ask a question. What happens if stocks don't go down? Great. You know, I mean, it's hard when you generate content, but I would love to have a sleepy second half of August. That may be too much to wish for, given, you know, the catalysts that are out there and people have their finger on the sell button. But, you know, I'm hoping for something sleepy. So Bitcoin funding rates hit year-to-date lows. So I put this in the PowerPoint, but according to this, which is hard to see, you know, people are basically giga short Bitcoin in the perpetuals market, meaning in the Bitcoin, in the crypto specific futures market, people haven't been this short all year. Now, to me, when people get this short, I don't know, it feels like a recipe for the market to do nothing, but there's a reason why people are short, right? They're afraid about equities. They're afraid about equities. They're afraid about black swans. They're afraid of a repeat of last year. Now, personally, I think we got that out of the way, meaning we had kind of an August puke. So I understand why people are nervous. I just don't really understand why people are bearish. In other words, everyone's like, Bill, you're a moon boy. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm a moon boy until all this stops and then Trump gets elected and wants the dollar lower, massively lower. Gold and silver are already moving. We'll talk about that. Okay, so, ETF outflows, blah, 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 right? Retail is selling, and institutions are buying all these ETFs and all the physical Bitcoin. Okay, so Morgan Stanley has the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF at this point. Okay. For this guy and the disaster item of the day, it takes a lot of money to build a missile to shoot down a drone. The United States is going to need a different financial strategy. The United States government, that is, right? Drill for oil, AI, blockchain, and I think it's going to be put crypto on the national balance sheet, right? And if not that, then do something to foster explosive growth in the industry, which could include issuing bonds denominated in Bitcoin. In other words, don't just buy the Bitcoin, put an interest rate on Bitcoin by issuing treasuries denominated in Bitcoin. We need a different strategy across the board. All right. Is volatility a feature or a bug? I have a friend who makes a very simple argument. The worst thing that can happen in the market is that you don't get any volatility, which means it's dead. It's like the bond market, right? It's like nothing is happening. You have this huge volatile, oh my God, the Fed's going to hike rates and then not hike rates. It just dies. Volatility is hard to deal with. That Black Monday crash was awful. But the simple fact of the matter is volatility is opportunity. Volatility is a good thing, right? Because as the market winds it up. I mean, can you imagine being a longer term Bitcoin investor with people short, worried, bearish? I mean, I saw something from Ansem last night, the meme coin guy. I don't know if he was just trying to be funny, but it was like a it was like a 3-sentence tweet that this guy's like, yeah, I've lost a whole bunch of money in the last 3 months and I'm just thinking about cashing out and walking away. I mean, if it was a joke, it looked like a pretty serious joke to me, right? This is a meme coin guy. Now, of course, from a contrarian point of view, you would look at this and say, well, if the market gets boring, people could turn around and start buying memes, assuming the market is stable. That's what's really funny. In other words, if there's a final puke in this market, for whatever reason, I don't know. Some guys are talking about 53K. I have that on a chart. I mean, let's just say that happened. At 53K, what would you be doing? Like, meme influencers and altcoin influencers want to go home. They can't take it anymore. So if they dropped it again, you would really have, I don't know, you'd have total capitulation. I mean, it feels like psychologically people are just resigned. I mean, I've seen guys on Twitter who's like done nothing but bull post all year. Well, like, yeah, we'll see you in October. That's what happened last year, right? You got paid to wait until, after all the chopping and thrashing and stuff was done. Then again, if you were going to amass big positions, the big puke in August, the big puke in July, the big puke in August, the little puke in August. I'm sorry, let's start again. Big puke in July, little puke in August, final low in September. If you were there and you were active near the lows, really all you had to do was sit there and wait for the thing to go up. It started very gradually. It wasn't obvious. In this case, I think once they put the low in, like once people realize that, oh my God, we shouldn't have been selling this, it just goes. But in the meantime, we have to deal with everybody's fright about everything from stocks to the Fed to geopolitics. You make this whole list of things that everyone's worried about. Short term, take it seriously. Long term, tack it up on your wall, laugh in 6 months, right? Or just simply, carry me out, because I'm not willing to capitulate and get bearish when I know all of Wall Street has to come in, gold and silver are going up, and Trump wants the dollar lower. Okay. So they're going to launch the Solana ETF. Everybody has already forgotten about that. The Solana phone is getting released in March of next year. I don't understand why everybody, they can't seem to dump Solana hard enough at 140. I was like, wow, this is kind of the juicy level. And they just keep hitting it down there. Like I gotta be honest with you. I don't know what the rationale is to push Solana down below 140, other than the fact that, all altcoins are going to get hit. Everyone seems to be worried about what? I mean, yes, they're not going to get the sugar from the Fed. Okay. But, when I see the prices that they're selling this stuff at, and when I see the prices people are talking about, for example, like 53K Bitcoin, I mean, I know that you're long, and that 53K Bitcoin to you sounds terrible. You're like, oh my God, like where's Solana at Bitcoin is at 53. I don't know. Is it at 110 or 120? Okay. But then I say to myself, it's like, if you look at a 6 to 9 month outlook and they smash Bitcoin, like everyone's on Twitter trying to find the target, right? Some guys have 53, some GAN guys have 43. And I'm just like, okay, well, if it was down there and you had capital, it reminds me of all of the big crashes in the past. Everybody gets wound up on where the bottom is, plus or minus 10%. And nobody is remembering that this thing could all turn around and go massively higher into the end of the year. Like October, a Trump win, Now, I don't know if I have a Trump. Here we go. Okay. So the big guy has, 5 million in Ethereum. So don't forget that Trump got his start in crypto. There's also a rumor going around last night that that New York City has spent $5 million to, I don't know, prepare the Rikers Island prison for Trump's arrival, because whatever he got convicted of in New York City, they're going to send him to jail for a year. I mean, can you imagine Trump living in Rikers Island and the protests and all the stuff that will go along with that? I mean, I heard that and I was like, they're going to do this sentencing around the lunar eclipse, which can be a highly volatile period. Full moons, eclipses, they have impacts on markets, right? Can you imagine how people would feel about the dollar if they actually put this guy in an orange jumpsuit? And what that could mean for crypto, right? In other words, people would be like, hey, we're tired. We're tired of the dollar. Housing prices are out of control. The median income cannot afford the median house price in just about every city, state in the country. We have not even remotely had a housing correction yet that will fix this. We might not. If the Fed cuts rates, it could get worse. This is a very valid point, right? Everybody is assuming that housing is going to crash like 2008. That's one outcome. The other outcome is that, the housing market just kind of doesn't trade. It seems strange that the housing market would just be kind of locked. Prices are high. No one's buying. No one can pay the higher prices. So unless there's an event that triggers forced selling, it's just locked there. Now, what happens if that's the case? Well, honestly, I don't know. Obviously, any industry that involves, turnover in housing, like Home Depot, is going to get hurt. But I mean, if you were a young person or you needed to buy a house, I mean, I can tell you right now, this is how I feel. I'm like, I got to get every spare change. I got to get every spare dollar. They want to hit this market? Okay. How is anyone going to buy anything without making money in crypto? What, you're going to put $100 in NVIDIA and go buy a house with that? No. What is the investment vehicle to basically get you up to speed to where you can participate in the economy? Right? Okay, Gian says last year we were talking about a tidal wave of Chinese money being printed and hitting the markets. Thoughts on expecting that with M2 money supply on the rise? Okay, well, the ongoing implosion in the Chinese economy, like Chinese housing prices, according to Zero Hedge, just hit the lowest level since July. I think you watch this stuff happen on the tape day after day after day, and you get numb to it. The funny thing is, there's so many problems out there. Central banks are caught in a bind in multiple ways. Like, for example, nobody can afford to buy a Subway sandwich, but inflation is not coming down. So how does the Fed handle that? Chinese government is going to print money indiscriminately in the event of weakness over there, right, in order to maintain stability. But the question for all of us is, how do we manage that? Like, okay, well, that's nice, but what do we do? My answer is you buy crypto on nasty dips, right? They want to take it down to 53. Great. Short of some sort of like geopolitical event, I don't know, man. I say the solution to the world's problems is buy crypto. Does that make me a moon boy? Maybe. But does anyone have a better idea? Seriously. I mean, I know you don't, you may be thinking along those lines, but, everybody out there, it's like, all right, yeah, let's be bearish and let's think it's going lower. Okay, maybe it goes lower. But again, at the end of the day, consumers, governments, corporations, what's the solution? An appreciating asset and a different currency. Okay, so in the stock market, there are chart signals on like 90-minute charts. So as you can see, this is the market taking the elevator down and then the stairs back up. This is a 90-minute chart of the S&P 500 ETF. It essentially unwinds the entire give up trade, like the whole crash that it had. And it just slowly unwinds it, which is very typical for equities. There is a DeMark topping signal here. Applied Materials earnings weren't good. I have no idea how they're going to hold this thing up here. I kind of hope they do because I know crypto is going to get smashed, but it's amazing how their mentality of buying the dip is one of the reasons why I'm so happy about the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs and all these grayscale products, right? Equity market people like, oh, it's down 15%. They don't go like crypto people. They see it down 15%. Yeah, it does look like the end of the world. Yeah, people do get wound up, but generally speaking, stock market people are just been taught, oh, it's down 20%. Oh, fear, greed, 17%. Okay, yeah, let's just buy it. Oh, it's going up after the low. Okay, just buy more. They're so ingrained to buy the dip, and they're doing it again. And you know what? I hope it works. I think it's ludicrous because I think if there are problems out there, it's problems with them. You have a slowing economy. You have a slowing economy, and the Fed can't cut rates. That's like toxic for them. But whatever. If it stays up, it's good for Bitcoin. I can't imagine where Bitcoin would be if stocks were like, I don't know, back down here at its lows. This, to me, in the short term, looks overdone. VXX. So this is the tradable fear index in equities, right? So VXX at 90 in early August, everyone afraid. 10 days later, VIX is half of that at 45, but there are all kinds of DeMark signals about a bottom at a designated, automatically drawn dotted line support point. So too much fear up here, not enough fear down here. Simple. Right? Does this affect Bitcoin? It could. The greatest thing that could happen is equities could just all pack it up and go home, and we'll see you after Labor Day. That would be the best thing that could happen. Not for content creation, but for all of our sanity. If these signals in equities did not produce a down move, that would be wonderful. If they do, crypto's going to get hit. But if they do, again, where is this going to be in 6 months? Where is this going to be when Trump's buying it for the treasury, or Trump is helping Bitcoin miners, what happens at that point? Or when Trump has to come in and start doing ETH related Web3 stuff to make sure that he has the crypto bro vote. Because, nothing that they do, nothing related to this election is automatic. Okay, this was the funding rate. Now let's go to this death cross idea. There are larger numbers of moving averages. The 21-day, the 50-day, and the 200-day were the moving averages that I would use a lot in legacy. Now, when those moving averages kind of look like, like the fast ones, like the 21-day and the 50-day, they look like they're going to do like over here. They're going to cross below the 200-day moving average, which is the flatter one. Okay, they call that, it's the death cross. The 50-day goes below the 200-day. Okay. And that's true, right? I mean, if crypto just like started coming unglued and all these moving averages started knifing down, yeah, that would be bad. That would be bad. However, it is worth noting that the last time these moving averages all got tangled up together and it looked like it was all going to zero was September of last year, because the market fell into a boring range and all the moving averages just stayed at the same level. So is it a range or is it a crash? People, a lot of times when the media gets wound up about these moving averages, you get a rally, which is what we've had, and then the market has to make a decision. I drew this linear regression channel. Unfortunately, Bitcoin is now below that, and this thing is so upward sloping that every day Bitcoin spends below this channel it's like, Bitcoin's got to train and go up more. It's like $1,000 a day. Every day that goes by with Bitcoin out of this channel, Bitcoin's hurdle to get back in the channel is going up like $1,000 in price per day. So, if it's going to recover, now would be a good time. It would be. Because, I don't really want to, 53K Bitcoin is a price target. I would shudder to think that whatever takes it down there, is that a one-day event, a multi-day event, right? I don't see any reason for it to go there kind of by itself. So, yeah, this moving average thing is scary. But it was scary down here, and it was the low. The definition of the low is it's very scary. Okay, stocks, again, they unwind this whole trade. Lux Algo is calling it an A, B, C correction. So that's what they're calling it. That should bring the rally to a close. It retraced 3/4 of the down move. That's a big number in equities. On a lighter note, silver and gold are breaking out. It's like, you know what? They're not writing about the geopolitical situation on CNN, but they're writing about it in the precious metals market. Silver on a 4-hour chart is breaking out, and Lux Algo is inserting support underneath, and gold is going back up again. And I like this Williams oscillator in gold. And hey, what's even funnier is that, you do have a lot of FOMO in gold at these levels, right? But it's inside of a range. In other words, like, this is the type of thing you might see after a big uptrend. If they want to buy gold and silver, folks, they're eventually going to want to buy crypto. The greatest thing that could happen is that we get something quiet. Okay, so looking at this morning, this is NASDAQ futures. So NASDAQ futures has had a rather robust rally, and it's hanging out, right? Sharing screen. Okay, so here's NASDAQ. There's a lot of resistance right here at a big fib number. We'll see how it trades, right? MicroStrategy on a 4-hour chart is sitting on a very big trend line. Kind of hoping this is like bird on a wire getting ready to fly. We'll see. A lot of support in MicroStrategy at 130. I would be very encouraged if it held. I would be very discouraged if it didn't. Okay. Bitcoin is hanging on. That's great. Okay. That's just great. It's the 12-hour chart, the one we were looking at in the PowerPoint. Okay. The levels that we care about are 57. And if things get stupid, 53. I think the all-important chart, to be honest, is Solana, right? I'll just kind of draw it all out here. This is the big one. This is this huge regression channel, taking into account the last 425 days, and Solana literally is just sitting on this line at 141. And I've sent this chart out enough. It's been on YouTube. This is not a fancy function in TradingView. I literally feel like the fate of the world in crypto revolves around what Solana does at 141. And of course, I don't mind noting, this is Aave on a daily chart. They are after this thing. Something is going on in the DeFi space. Institutions want in. Honestly, I couldn't be happier. The market is going to tell you. Let me just take a look. Let me see if Phantom is still moving. I do not understand why it's such like a revolutionary concept. Okay, Phantom came back off, so nothing going on there. And then the other thing that I have not brought up, just like maybe some basic TA in XRP, like fast money, DeFi, all this stuff, Rune, cross-chain. Yo, let's check out cross-chain up 5% today. So this is the 89-minute bar. Okay, probably got a little bit too frothy, but Rune has a pop to it. Okay, so let's sum up the week. Would you be able to briefly discuss how to leverage the money flow indicator? Okay, yes, I can. Okay, getting the money flow indicator. Okay. So let's see if we can find an example by looking at Rune, right? One of the things you want to do with this money flow indicator, right, is that when it's in this red zone, you don't want to buy. Okay? You don't want to buy. You want to buy at a moment where you can see money flow going from red to green, which is pretty much what happened, somewhere here. In other words, are you in a big hurry to buy something? Well, where's money flow? Is it red? Okay, then I'm not in a hurry. Now, the other way you use it, again, this is a small on-the-fly example. When you get this big green on green, it means FOMO, right? It means, also when you see the sort of the line, the curve or the histogram go above that little line there. Yeah, I mean, that means they're really pushing it, which, it can be bullish. But then when it gets green on green, it gets to a point where it's excessive and things come off, right? This indicator, this oscillator matrix also gives you signals like, like for example, in Rune on the negative side, it's telling you that these new highs were not confirmed by new highs in the oscillator. So let me encapsulate. You want to note transitions from red to green, right? As money flow gets less and less red, or as money flow gets more and more green, or less and less green at tops, you want to take note. You want to look for extremes, right? You want to look for red on red or green on green at tops and bottoms. If a market is down, it's bounced, but money flow is still red, I don't know that there's a need to commit long-term capital. That's kind of how I use it, but now I know that that's what you're interested in. I can definitely put more stuff into PowerPoint headed into next week. Okay, folks, that's it. Remember, quiet, best case. Worst case, 53. In no case do we give up on crypto. It's about position, clean out the closet, get rid of what's not working so you can be there to scoop up what will work. We'll see you Monday.